The story of the unknown scientist begins in a forgotten corner of history, where the world's greatest revolutions often begin, not with applause, but with silence. His name does not appear on the covers of textbooks, nor does it echo in classrooms as loudly as the legends who shaped physics. Yet, behind the curtains of recognition, he worked with a level of clarity and determination that would eventually reshape modern science. What makes his journey extraordinary is not only what he discovered, but how quietly he moved through the scientific world, unnoticed by the public, overshadowed by towering figures whose fame lit up the era. While the world remembers the icons whose theories transformed physics, very few know the mind whose insight quietly stitched many of those ideas together. His early years offered no signs of fame. There were no prestigious universities chasing him, no mentors grooming him to be the next scientific star. Instead, he grew up with a natural curiosity, the kind that is born when a child looks at the night sky and wonders not just what the stars are, but what lies between them. His fascination wasn't with the world as it appeared, but with the invisible forces that shaped it. While others saw the external beauty of nature, he sought the hidden patterns inside it, the silent rules that dictate how the universe behaves. The scientific world he stepped into was chaotic, filled with unanswered questions and theories that strained under their own limitations. There were giants standing on the stage of discovery, figures whose names shaped the direction of modern physics. They were brilliant, competitive, and fiercely protective of their ideas. In such a world, an unknown thinker had little chance of being heard. But what set him apart was not a desire to compete, it was a desire to understand. His mind moved quietly, but with precision, tracing the borders of accepted knowledge and pushing slightly beyond them, into the territories where established theories failed to explain the deeper truth. He began to notice something unusual, tiny inconsistencies in the equations that governed the physical universe. These discrepancies were small, so small that most scientists ignored them, choosing instead to focus on the broader patterns. But he understood the importance of these cracks. Where others saw negligible imperfections, he saw hints of a larger truth. His discovery did not come from grand experiments or expensive machines, it came from patience, observation, and a willingness to question even the most celebrated principles. The deeper he explored, the more he realized that the fundamental theories of his time were incomplete. They described the world accurately enough for most purposes, but not perfectly. There were mysteries that even the greatest physicists struggled to solve. Light behaved like a wave yet struck matter like a particle. Atoms followed rules that defied classical logic. Space and time themselves seemed to bend under extreme conditions. These contradictions created confusion and fierce debate among scientists. But for him they were clues, pieces of a larger puzzle waiting to be assembled. He worked alone, often late into the night, surrounded not by recognition but by the quiet hum of thought. The scientific community rarely acknowledged his presence. Some dismissed him. Others barely knew he existed. He attended conferences where people walked past him as if he were invisible. Yet, instead of feeling discouraged, he used this anonymity as fuel. Without public expectations, without the pressure to defend a reputation, he was free to explore unconventional ideas. His mind wandered through areas of physics that others avoided, searching for the hidden thread connecting the mysteries that perplexed even the most celebrated geniuses. One evening, after countless calculations and revisions, he noticed a pattern, something subtle, almost insignificant at first glance. It was a relationship that linked two seemingly unrelated phenomena, a mathematical harmony bridging two opposing concepts in physics. He spent days verifying it, testing again and again to ensure that it was not a mistake. As his confidence grew, he realized he had stumbled upon a principle capable of reshaping scientific understanding. It was the kind of insight that could redefine the foundations of physics, offering a new way of interpreting the universe. But discoveries like these rarely come with immediate celebration. Instead, they often bring skepticism, confusion, and resistance. When he first presented his idea, it was met with silence. Not rejection, just a quiet dismissal, like a whisper lost in a storm of louder voices. Leading scientists were too focused on their own theories to see the value in his. His idea was too new, too unconventional, too different from the accepted narrative, and so it slipped past the world unnoticed like a brilliant spark falling on wet ground. Despite this, he continued refining his theory. He wasn't driven by the desire for recognition, he was driven by the truth he knew he had uncovered. As months turned into years, other scientists unknowingly began building on his idea. They used parts of his work, sometimes referencing him but often missing his name entirely. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, his idea became woven into the fabric of modern physics. The principles he introduced helped solve long-standing scientific puzzles. They smoothed out contradictions that had haunted physicists for decades. They provided a framework that strengthened theories which later became famous. He watched as others rose to fame on ideas that traced back to his own work. He saw scientists receive awards and global recognition for discoveries that were, in part, rooted in the principle he had introduced years earlier. But he did not protest. He never stood up to claim ownership, never demanded that history rewrite his place in the narrative. Instead, he continued researching quietly, satisfied with the knowledge that the truth had found its way into the world, whether or not anyone attached his name to it. Over time, physicists began to notice something unusual. They realized that a number of major theories rested on a foundation that came from a paper written by an almost unknown scientist. Slowly, historians of science started peeling back the layers, tracing ideas through decades of research. What they discovered was astonishing. This quiet thinker had provided one of the key stepping stones that allowed modern physics to evolve. His insight had reshaped the field, even if the credit had gone elsewhere. Yet even then, the world did not rush to celebrate him. His story never entered mainstream discussions. Students rarely learned his name. He was mentioned occasionally in academic circles, but only as a footnote, a quiet contributor overshadowed by the giants who dominated the history of science. His discovery remained essential, but his identity remained hidden. This was the paradox of his contribution. He changed the direction of science, yet remained invisible in the narrative of its progress. He altered the way we understand energy, matter, or the behavior of the universe, yet few people outside specialized fields ever heard of him. While others were immortalized in photographs, documentaries, and monuments, he faded into obscurity. But perhaps that is what made his work so pure. His pursuit of truth was never about recognition, it was about uncovering the foundations of reality. Even today, scientists continue to build on the principle he discovered. Advanced technologies, from quantum devices to space-based systems, rely in some way on the frameworks he helped establish. His influence ripples through our modern world, embedded in devices we use, theories we teach, and experiments we conduct. His legacy lives not in fame, but in the quiet evolution of knowledge. The influence of this unknown scientist began to reveal itself slowly, like a pattern emerging from darkness only after your eyes adjust to the faintest light. For decades, researchers had debated the contradictions within physics, trying to reconcile theories that seemed to oppose one another. Yet, without realizing it, many of the answers they eventually found were rooted in the principle he had discovered long before. Though the world still did not recognize his name, the truth was that his insight had become the silent engine powering new scientific breakthroughs. Looking back, one can trace a quiet thread connecting countless milestones in modern science directly to his work. It becomes clear that without his contribution, many of the discoveries that define our world today might have taken years longer, or perhaps not happened at all. Physics is often built on layers, each new idea stacked upon the last, and his idea formed a foundation so essential that the entire field unknowingly stood upon it. Yet the irony remained while his work shaped the development of modern theories. The history books continued to celebrate only a select few, leaving him in the shadows of their fame. He lived through a time of immense scientific transformation. The old classical worldview was crumbling, replaced by strange, unpredictable theories that challenged humanity's understanding of the universe. Scientists were desperate for answers, searching for a deeper logic behind the bizarre behavior of atoms and light. Amid this chaos, he remained calm, his mind focused on the hidden order beneath the confusion. Where others saw contradiction, he saw opportunity. He believed that nature, no matter how complex, always followed a deeper harmony, one that could be revealed with patience and clarity. His approach to science was unlike that of his contemporaries. He did not chase accolades, fame, or the attention of the scientific elite. He was not concerned with competing against other thinkers or proving himself superior. Instead, he approached the universe with humility, almost reverence, as if every new discovery were a small revelation of a grand design. This mindset allowed him to see connections that others overlooked. It also freed him from the pressure that often blinded more famous scientists, who defended their theories fiercely and sometimes resisted new ideas that threatened their legacy. He realized early on that scientific truth does not always arrive in grand moments. Sometimes it appears in tiny inconsistencies, small anomalies that seem insignificant but hold the potential to unravel entire theories. He had an extraordinary ability to sense when something in the equations didn't quite fit, even if the mistake was so subtle that most would ignore it. These tiny cracks in conventional knowledge were his entry points. He used them to peer deeper into the mysteries of physics, searching for the hidden structure that held the universe together. As he refined his theory, he became increasingly aware that his discovery challenged long-standing assumptions. If he were a more attention-seeking thinker, he might have launched a bold campaign to prove the world wrong. He might have demanded recognition or pushed his work aggressively into the spotlight, but that was never his way. Instead, he let the truth speak for itself. He trusted that one day, others would understand the significance of what he had found, even if that day arrived long after his lifetime. His personal life reflected the same quiet dedication that defined his scientific work. He lived modestly, avoiding the public eye. Those who knew him described him as thoughtful, introspective, and deeply curious. He rarely talked about his discoveries unless someone asked, and even then, he spoke with humility, focusing more on the beauty of the ideas than on his own role in uncovering them. To him, science was not a competition. It was a conversation with the universe, one that required patience, respect, and an open mind. There were moments when he felt the weight of being overlooked. He watched as theories that relied on his ideas were celebrated around the world. He read articles praising scientists whose work was built upon foundations he had quietly laid. There were brief flashes of frustration, moments when he wondered whether his anonymity would continue forever. But those feelings never grew into bitterness. He believed that discoveries belonged not to individuals, but to humanity. Once revealed, they became part of the collective knowledge of the world, and so he continued his work even without recognition. Years passed, and the scientific landscape continued to evolve. Younger scientists entered the field with fresh ideas, unaware that many of the concepts they were studying had originated from the mind of a man whose name they had never encountered. His influence spread through research papers, experiments, and technological innovations. It became embedded in the structure of theories that guided everything from particle physics to cosmology. And yet, his name remained absent from the spotlight. Eventually, a few physicists and historians began to revisit the early days of the theories that shaped modern science. They noticed something strange. Several groundbreaking ideas seemed to trace back to an earlier source, a set of papers that had gone largely unnoticed when they were first published. As they dug deeper, they realized that the author of these papers had introduced concepts that later became fundamental to some of the most celebrated theories in physics. This quiet thinker, once invisible, began to emerge from the shadows of history. Even then, the world did not fully embrace his story. Scientific recognition often comes too late, long after the public's attention has moved on to the next big breakthrough. But those who truly understood physics knew the truth his discovery had altered the trajectory of the entire field. Without his insight, the path of modern physics would have been very different. Perhaps progress would have come more slowly. Perhaps certain theories would have collapsed under the weight of their unresolved contradictions. His contribution had smoothed the road ahead, making it possible for others to advance more quickly and confidently. Despite the late acknowledgement, he never sought to rewrite history in his favor. By the time recognition began to appear, he had already accepted his role in the unfolding story of science. He understood that not all heroes stand on the stage. Some work behind it, shaping the performance without ever stepping into the lights. His legacy lived not in fame, but in the quiet advancement of knowledge, a legacy etched into the invisible framework of the universe itself. The true measure of his impact becomes clear when we examine the technologies and theories influenced by his work. His discovery plays a role in the devices that power modern communication. It appears in the equations that guide space exploration. It shapes the principles behind quantum research, medical imaging, computing, and even the tools that scientists use to uncover new mysteries. Every time humanity reaches a deeper understanding of the universe, a small part of that journey can be traced back to the insight he uncovered long ago. This is the paradox at the heart of his story. He changed science forever, yet the world does not speak his name. He provided clarity where confusion reigned, yet history rewarded others with recognition. But perhaps his greatest contribution was not the discovery itself, it was the reminder that true genius often works in silence. While the world celebrates the loudest voices, it is sometimes the quietest thinkers who make the most profound difference. His life teaches us that curiosity is more powerful than fame, that dedication matters more than applause, and that the universe reveals its secrets not to those who seek glory, but to those who seek understanding. He showed that even without recognition, a single idea can change the course of human knowledge, and in that sense, his influence is greater than any award, for it continues to shape the scientific world with every passing generation. Today, as scientists push further into the mysteries of existence, they stand on the foundation he helped create. His work still guides their steps, even if they do not know his name. In every experiment, every discovery, every breakthrough that expands the horizon of human understanding, there echoes the quiet legacy of a mind that worked in silence but changed the universe forever. That is the story of the first keynote, the story of how one forgotten scientist reshaped the world without ever seeking recognition, proving that sometimes the greatest revolutions come from those the world never sees. The story of the scientist's breakthrough cannot be understood without appreciating the profound problem he chose to tackle, a problem that had stumped even the brightest minds of his era. While many celebrated physicists focused on theories that promised fame and recognition, he directed his energy toward a subtle, almost invisible challenge, one that required patience, intellect, and an unshakable determination to pursue the truth, no matter how difficult. This challenge was not immediately obvious to the scientific community, yet it held the potential to rewrite the fundamental understanding of nature. It was a problem that lurked in the background, quietly influencing experiments, theories, and debates until he arrived to illuminate it. At first, the problem appeared deceptively simple. Scientists had long studied the behavior of particles and energy, seeking patterns that would allow them to predict outcomes with precision. On the surface, classical theories seemed sufficient. Equations worked, measurements agreed, and experiments produced repeatable results. Yet, beneath this apparent stability, anomalies persisted, small inconsistencies that hinted at a deeper, hidden reality. Most physicists either overlooked these discrepancies or dismissed them as experimental errors. But he had an uncanny ability to sense the significance of these tiny irregularities. Where others saw noise, he saw a whisper from the universe, guiding him toward a truth that had remained hidden for decades. He began to examine the problem with meticulous care. Each calculation, each experiment, each observation was scrutinized with relentless attention to detail. His work was not flashy or dramatic, but it was precise. He noticed patterns in data that had been collected by countless scientists before him. Patterns that seemed random until he applied a new lens of thought, one that combined both intuition and rigorous analysis. Slowly, a framework began to emerge, revealing connections that had eluded everyone else. It was as if he were deciphering a secret code written into the fabric of reality itself. The challenge he faced was not merely technical, it was philosophical. It required rethinking assumptions that had long been accepted as truths. The scientific community had built its understanding of the world upon certain principles, and questioning them was risky. Established theories were deeply entrenched, defended by powerful voices in the field. Many feared that revisiting these assumptions would lead to chaos or confusion. But he was undeterred. He understood that progress often demands the courage to confront conventional wisdom, to explore paths that others deem too uncertain or controversial. This was the hallmark of his genius, a willingness to venture where others would not, guided by the quiet conviction that truth is discovered, not declared. As he delved deeper, he began to realize the implications of what he was uncovering. The problem he had identified was not isolated. It was a gateway to understanding the behavior of matter, energy, and even the structure of the universe itself. Solving it would provide insights that went far beyond the immediate challenge, touching on questions that had baffled scientists for generations. It was a discovery that could redefine the very foundation of physics, yet it required patience, creativity, and an extraordinary capacity for abstract thought. He worked tirelessly, often alone, pushing the boundaries of both his intellect and the scientific knowledge of the time. His approach was unique. Rather than relying on the authority of past theories or the opinions of renowned colleagues, he let the evidence guide him. He embraced uncertainty, knowing that the path to discovery is rarely straight. Experiments sometimes failed, calculations produced unexpected results, and ideas that seemed promising at first often led to dead ends. But he treated each setback as a clue, a step closer to understanding. In his mind, failure was not a defeat, it was information. Every misstep revealed something about the structure of the problem, helping him refine his approach and see the universe more clearly. Through this process, he developed a model that explained the anomalies with remarkable elegance. What had seemed contradictory became coherent, what had seemed inexplicable became predictable. His solution was both simple and profound, combining insight with precision. It addressed the problem in a way that no other theory had, bridging gaps and providing clarity where confusion had once reigned. It was a moment of quiet brilliance, a turning point in the history of science, even if the world would not recognize it immediately. Despite the elegance of his solution, he faced the challenge of communicating it to a skeptical scientific community. The ideas were subtle and counterintuitive, and most scientists were unprepared to accept a departure from the familiar. Some dismissed his work outright, others considered it too abstract or theoretical to be practical. Yet he persisted, presenting his findings with patience and rigor, relying on evidence rather than rhetoric. His focus was never on persuasion, but on the truth itself. He understood that genuine discoveries do not require applause. They require careful validation and the passage of time to be recognized. The significance of his discovery extended far beyond the theoretical realm. Once understood, it allowed for practical applications that would have been impossible otherwise. New technologies, experiments, and even entire branches of physics could be built on the foundation he had established. He had solved a problem that opened the door to a new way of thinking, one that empowered scientists to explore previously inaccessible aspects of nature. His work was not only a breakthrough in knowledge, but also a catalyst for innovation, influencing research in ways that continued to unfold long after his initial discovery. Yet the world remained largely unaware of his contribution. Fame had eluded him, and history favored others whose work intersected with more visible milestones. While the media celebrated discoveries with immediate and dramatic impact, his achievement, though foundational, remained quiet and subtle. It was the kind of insight that underpins progress but rarely attracts headlines. And yet, those who understood its importance recognized that without his intervention, many of the breakthroughs credited to others might never have been possible. The invisible threads of his influence wove through the tapestry of modern physics, connecting ideas, solving problems, and guiding research in profound ways. His work also demonstrated a remarkable combination of creativity and discipline. He could imagine possibilities that others could not see, yet he also subjected every idea to rigorous testing. He bridged the gap between imagination and logic, intuition and mathematics, theory and experiment. This rare ability allowed him to confront a problem that had defied conventional approaches and to find a solution that was both innovative and reliable. In doing so, he set a new standard for scientific thinking, showing that the most significant breakthroughs often come from those willing to question everything, observe carefully, and follow the evidence wherever it leads. The scientist's journey through this problem was also deeply human. It reflected qualities of patience, resilience, and humility. He faced rejection, obscurity, and the slow pace of recognition, yet he never lost faith in the importance of his work. He pursued knowledge not for personal gain but for the love of discovery, for the satisfaction of understanding something that had been hidden from the world. In this, he embodied the ideal of the scientist as explorer, a seeker of truth, guided not by ambition but by curiosity and the conviction that knowledge, once discovered, belongs to all. As his solution gained traction over time, it began to influence the way other scientists approached problems. They found that the framework he had developed could be applied to new questions, revealing patterns that had previously gone unnoticed. His work became a lens through which complex phenomena could be interpreted with clarity and consistency. What had once been a perplexing challenge was now a gateway to understanding, thanks to the insight of a thinker who had quietly persevered when others might have given up. This keynote illustrates the transformative power of addressing a single, seemingly minor problem with dedication and insight. It shows how a solitary mind, working in the shadows of the scientific world, can solve challenges that alter the course of research and discovery. The impact of such work may not be immediately visible, but over time it becomes foundational, shaping the development of entire fields. The scientist's approach to this problem highlights the importance of patience, careful observation, and the courage to challenge established norms, demonstrating that the greatest breakthroughs often arise from the most unassuming places. As the years passed, the implications of his work began to ripple through the scientific community in ways few could initially perceive. His solution to the problem, once overlooked, became a quiet reference point, a tool that other researchers used, sometimes unknowingly, to advance their own ideas. Laboratories across the world began experimenting with concepts that relied on the foundations he had laid, and slowly, a network of discoveries emerged that traced back to his insight. In a sense, he had planted a seed in the fertile soil of science, a seed that would grow into a forest of knowledge, unseen yet essential. What made his contribution particularly remarkable was the way it bridged contradictions that had long divided the field. For decades, physicists had been wrestling with inconsistencies between classical theories and emerging quantum observations. Certain experiments produced results that could not be reconciled with the accepted models, creating tension and uncertainty. Many scientists viewed these inconsistencies as problems to be patched over, adjustments to be made within the existing framework. But he approached them differently. He treated the inconsistencies not as obstacles, but as clues pointing to a deeper, more coherent understanding of nature, By doing so, he transformed confusion into clarity, chaos into order. The path he followed was neither simple nor straightforward. Progress came in fits and starts, each step accompanied by doubt and recalibration. His calculations required painstaking precision, and his ideas often challenged the core assumptions that the scientific world had long taken for granted. Critics were skeptical. Colleagues who understood the conventional rules of physics found his reasoning difficult to grasp. Yet he persisted, guided by an unshakable belief that the universe could be understood if approached with patience, humility, and intellectual rigor. In the quiet of his study, surrounded by papers, chalkboards, and the dim glow of lamplight, he refined his theory, testing each nuance and exploring every possible implication. Over time, his solution began to reveal a profound elegance. What had initially appeared as a complex tangle of anomalies now unfolded as a harmonious structure. Patterns emerged that connected previously isolated phenomena, showing that the behavior of matter and energy could be described in a unified way. It was a breakthrough not only in terms of the immediate problem, but in the broader understanding of physics itself. By addressing a single, subtle issue, he had unlocked doors to areas of research that others had assumed were unrelated or unsolvable. In this, his work demonstrated the power of seeing beyond the obvious, of pursuing questions that others might dismiss as trivial or insignificant. Despite the elegance and significance of his solution, recognition was slow to come. The world of science is often focused on dramatic discoveries that capture attention, while subtle but foundational breakthroughs can go unnoticed. Papers referencing his work were sometimes published with little fanfare, and the narrative of scientific history continued to favor those whose names were already well known. He remained a figure in the background, a quiet force shaping the development of ideas without receiving public acknowledgement. And yet, in the circles of those who truly understood physics, his influence became increasingly evident. They recognized that many breakthroughs credited to others would have been impossible without the groundwork he had laid. His work also had practical consequences that extended far beyond theoretical physics. Engineers, chemists, and technologists began applying principles that traced back to his insight. Experiments that had previously produced inconsistent results now yielded reliable data. Technologies that had been difficult to develop suddenly became feasible, and entire branches of applied science were transformed. His solution did not merely answer a question on paper. It provided a roadmap for discovery and innovation. The problem he solved became a cornerstone, quietly supporting advancements that would change the way humans interact with the world. The more the scientific community explored these applications, the more they realized the breadth of his contribution. He had addressed a problem that, while subtle, was fundamental to understanding the universe at both the micro and macro levels. The principles he revealed allowed for precise predictions about particle behavior, energy interactions, and even the structure of matter itself. In essence, he had unlocked a key that opened countless doors, yet he remained largely unknown outside academic circles. The irony of his story is profound. His influence is everywhere, yet his name is absent from the story of modern science as it is commonly told. In many ways, his journey exemplifies the quiet courage required to pursue truth. He faced resistance, skepticism, and obscurity, yet he never wavered in his commitment to understanding the problem he had chosen to explore. He treated obstacles not as discouragement, but as data, not as failures, but as guides pointing him toward the correct path. This mindset allowed him to navigate the complex landscape of physics with a clarity that few possessed. While others may have been distracted by fame or competition, he remained focused on the underlying reality, seeking answers rather than recognition. The implications of his work extend beyond science itself, offering lessons in perseverance, humility, and intellectual integrity. He demonstrated that meaningful contributions do not always require the spotlight, that progress can be driven by those willing to work quietly, consistently, and thoughtfully. His life shows that the pursuit of knowledge is often a solitary endeavor, requiring resilience in the face of indifference, patience in the face of slow progress, and faith in the value of truth over acclaim. He pursued a subtle, complex problem with dedication, and in doing so, reshaped the scientific world in ways few could initially perceive. Over time, the scientific community began to acknowledge his contribution, though often indirectly. Papers and textbooks referenced his principles without necessarily highlighting his role. Researchers discovered that the foundation for many modern theories rested on the solutions he had provided. Slowly, the hidden thread of his influence was traced, revealing a quiet architect behind some of the most significant developments in physics. His work became a silent guide for generations of scientists, demonstrating that the resolution of even the smallest, most overlooked problems can have enormous consequences. His journey also underscores the importance of vision in science. While many focus on immediate, high-profile challenges, he recognized the value of subtle, foundational problems. The issues that, once resolved, unlock larger realms of possibility. His ability to perceive the hidden significance of the anomalies that others dismissed was a testament to his insight, creativity, and depth of understanding. By addressing a single, subtle problem with unwavering focus, he not only solved it but created a framework that would influence countless subsequent discoveries, showing that true innovation often comes from careful observation and intellectual courage rather than dramatic announcements. Even as his story remained largely unknown to the general public, the impact of his work continued to expand. Technologies, experiments, and theories that define the modern era often rely on the principles he uncovered. His solution allowed scientists to approach complex problems with a new perspective, to experiment with confidence, and to predict outcomes that were previously beyond reach. The quiet power of his discovery demonstrates the interconnectedness of scientific progress, how solving one foundational problem can illuminate countless others, creating a ripple effect that extends across time and disciplines. In reflecting on his journey, it becomes evident that the measure of a scientist's impact is not always fame or recognition. Sometimes, the greatest contributions are those that reshape understanding quietly, guiding others toward truths that would otherwise remain hidden. His work illustrates that perseverance, insight, and a commitment to truth can achieve results far beyond what public acknowledgement can convey. He chose to pursue knowledge for its own sake, and in doing so, changed the trajectory of science forever, even if history has largely overlooked his name. Ultimately, the story of this second keynote reveals the profound power of solving a single, critical problem with dedication and insight. It shows that even challenges that seem minor or obscure can hold the keys to transformative discoveries. It reminds us that true genius often works quietly, behind the scenes, guiding progress without seeking recognition. The impact of his work continues to shape the scientific world, influencing theories, experiments, and technologies that define our understanding of the universe. And in that, his legacy is undeniable, a quiet revolution that changed science forever, even if the world has yet to fully acknowledge it. The magnitude of a single idea often goes unnoticed until its consequences ripple through the fabric of understanding. The third keynote revolves around the scientist's ability to introduce a concept so profound that it quietly reshaped the way physics approached reality, even as the world remained largely unaware of the mind behind it. While many scientific breakthroughs are celebrated for their spectacle, this discovery was subtle, foundational, and transformative, influencing countless developments that followed. The genius of the idea lay not in its immediate visibility, but in its ability to reorganize existing knowledge, revealing patterns that had been invisible to everyone else. He approached the mysteries of the universe with a singular focus, guided by an understanding that nature has a logic, however hidden it might appear. At a time when scientific discourse was dominated by debates over the interpretations of experimental results, he sought a deeper, underlying principle. something that could reconcile conflicting observations and provide clarity where chaos had prevailed. His insight was born from hours of reflection, calculations scribbled on paper, and the relentless questioning of assumptions that others took for granted. He did not rush toward conclusions. Instead, he allowed the evidence to guide him, treating every anomaly as a whisper of a deeper truth. The problem he addressed was, at first glance, almost imperceptible. It was the kind of issue that most scientists would have dismissed as insignificant, a minor inconsistency easily ignored in favor of broader theories. Yet, he sensed that within this subtle irregularity lay a key to understanding phenomena that had long puzzled physicists. The inconsistency appeared across multiple experiments, in different contexts, yet had never been systematically explained. To the untrained eye, it seemed trivial, but to him, it hinted at a gap in humanity's comprehension of the natural world. He began by meticulously cataloging instances of the anomaly, tracing its appearance in various experimental data. He did not take results at face value. He examined each calculation, questioned the assumptions behind the measurements, and sought to uncover the root cause. Slowly, a pattern began to emerge, a thread linking seemingly unrelated phenomena. This realization was the beginning of a profound breakthrough. What had been a minor inconsistency revealed itself to be a window into the structure of the universe. A window that, once opened, would allow scientists to view reality in a fundamentally new way. The significance of his insight lay not only in its ability to solve the immediate problem, but in its potential to unify disparate areas of physics. Classical and quantum theories had long existed in tension, each explaining certain observations, but failing to provide a complete picture. His discovery offered a conceptual bridge, a framework capable of integrating these divergent approaches. By establishing this connection, he provided a tool for future generations of scientists, a lens through which they could investigate complex phenomena with coherence and precision. In essence, he had created a map where none had existed before. His process was as rigorous as it was patient. He repeatedly tested his ideas, considering every possible counterexample, refining his models, and exploring alternative explanations. The depth of his analysis reflected a mind attuned to both abstraction and practicality, capable of envisioning far-reaching implications while remaining grounded in empirical observation. He understood that a breakthrough of this magnitude required more than intuition. It demanded evidence, clarity, and consistency. Every calculation was scrutinized, every assumption questioned, every conclusion challenged against the weight of reality. Despite the elegance and power of his discovery, the world remained largely oblivious. His work did not arrive on the stage of popular science with dramatic headlines or public acclaim. Instead, it quietly influenced experiments, guided research, and formed the foundation of theories that would later define entire fields of study. Scientists who unknowingly built upon his ideas advanced their own work, benefiting from the clarity his insight provided. Yet the acknowledgement of his role remained minimal, his name absent from the narrative of the discoveries that depended on him. What makes this keynote particularly compelling is the subtlety of its impact. Unlike dramatic breakthroughs that capture immediate attention, his contribution functioned behind the scenes, supporting the evolution of science in ways that were not immediately visible. It shaped thinking, provided coherence to previously fragmented knowledge, and enabled new explorations. His insight was a quiet force, yet its influence was profound and lasting. The discovery was not about fame or recognition. It was about uncovering the truth and letting it guide the trajectory of human understanding. He also faced intellectual resistance. Established scientists were often skeptical of ideas that challenged entrenched frameworks, especially those coming from someone outside the circle of recognized authority. Some dismissed his work as abstract or irrelevant, while others struggled to comprehend the depth of its implications. Yet he did not waver. He was motivated not by the approval of his peers, but by the certainty that the universe holds a coherent structure, waiting to be revealed by those who are patient and perceptive enough to see it. The insight he introduced extended far beyond theoretical significance. Once understood, it provided a foundation for practical applications that would eventually influence technology, experimentation, and the interpretation of natural phenomena. Experiments that had previously yielded puzzling or contradictory results could now be understood with clarity. Concepts that had seemed incompatible were unified, providing a framework for exploration that was both reliable and expansive. His contribution was a catalyst, enabling progress across multiple domains of science. His approach combined imagination and precision in a way that was rare, even among the most gifted scientists. He could envision possibilities that others overlooked, yet he rigorously tested each idea against the constraints of reality. This balance allowed him to address a problem that had resisted conventional methods, producing a solution that was both innovative and credible. By doing so, he demonstrated that true breakthroughs require not only creativity but discipline, intuition tempered by evidence, and vision grounded in observation. Throughout this process, he remained largely anonymous. While other scientists gained recognition for discoveries that were built on the foundation he provided, he continued his work quietly. His commitment was to the pursuit of understanding rather than personal acclaim. This humility did not diminish the importance of his achievement. On the contrary, it underscores the purity of his pursuit. He sought to reveal the hidden structure of the universe, not to claim ownership of it. The broader significance of this keynote lies in its demonstration of the transformative power of a single idea. By addressing a subtle, persistent problem with insight and rigor, he reshaped the way physics approached reality. His discovery illustrates that even minor anomalies can conceal profound truths, and that careful, patient investigation can unlock understanding that transforms entire fields. The ripple effects of such a contribution extend far beyond the initial breakthrough, influencing generations of scientists, guiding experiments, and enabling technologies that shape our daily lives. Moreover, his work serves as a reminder that recognition is not the ultimate measure of impact. While fame is fleeting, the influence of an idea endures. The concepts he introduced continue to underpin research, guiding inquiry and enabling discoveries long after his presence has faded from public view. His legacy is woven into the fabric of modern science, embedded in theories, experiments, and applications that define the way we understand the universe. This keynote, therefore, exemplifies the quiet revolution of insight. It is a testament to the power of intellectual curiosity, persistence, and rigorous analysis. It shows that profound change can emerge from subtle observations, that the resolution of a single problem can open new vistas of understanding, and that the influence of a mind committed to truth can extend far beyond immediate recognition. The discovery he made, though unnoticed by many, transformed the trajectory of physics and provided a framework for the advances that followed. In reflecting on his journey, one sees a pattern that is both inspiring and humbling. He demonstrated that greatness in science does not always require spectacle. Sometimes, it is the patient, thoughtful exploration of a subtle problem, the willingness to see what others ignore, to question what others accept, and to follow the evidence wherever it leads, that changes the world. His discovery, though initially invisible to most, became a cornerstone of understanding, illustrating the enduring power of ideas over individual fame. As time passed, the full magnitude of his contribution slowly revealed itself, though it was often in subtle ways. Researchers built on his insight without realizing the origin of the principles that guided their work. Experiments that had previously produced inconsistent or confusing results could now be interpreted coherently. Technologies, once limited by gaps in understanding, advanced because of the framework he had established. Though invisible in the public narrative, his discovery served as a foundation upon which the edifice of modern physics could rise. The true brilliance of his work lay in its ability to unify seemingly incompatible observations. For decades, scientists had wrestled with paradoxes in the behavior of matter and energy. Classical theories explained macroscopic phenomena with precision, while quantum models accounted for atomic and subatomic behavior. Yet, these two realms often appeared incompatible. His insight bridged this gap by revealing an underlying principle that connected disparate observations. He provided clarity and coherence where confusion had reigned. What had once seemed contradictory became harmonious, a testament to the power of seeing connections where others saw division. His process was meticulous and relentless. He revisited experiments, re-examined data, and refined models over and over again, understanding that true discovery emerges not in a single moment of inspiration, but through careful, iterative work. Each refinement brought him closer to a comprehensive understanding, and each test confirmed the robustness of his insight. He embraced complexity without being overwhelmed by it, approaching the unknown with both patience and precision. Despite the elegance and transformative nature of his discovery, recognition was slow to follow. Scientific fame often favors those who make dramatic announcements or who work within the established circles of influence. He operated largely outside these networks, focusing on the pursuit of truth rather than personal acclaim. While others gained visibility for work built upon the foundation he provided, he remained largely unknown. Yet this did not deter him. His dedication to uncovering the fundamental principles of nature was greater than any desire for recognition. Over the years, his work began to influence new generations of scientists. They applied his framework to emerging problems, discovering patterns and solutions that had previously seemed elusive. The insight he introduced became a tool for inquiry, a lens through which the universe could be examined with clarity. Its impact extended beyond theoretical physics into practical applications, guiding experiments, informing technology, and enabling innovations that shaped the modern world. The subtlety of his influence highlights an essential truth about scientific progress: not all transformative ideas are celebrated immediately. Some operate quietly, laying the groundwork for discoveries that follow. His discovery exemplifies this principle, showing how an insight into a seemingly minor or abstract problem can reverberate across decades, affecting fields and technologies far beyond its original scope. What is invisible to the public eye can nonetheless be foundational to progress. He faced challenges beyond intellectual obstacles: skepticism from peers, the slow pace of recognition, and the absence of public acclaim were constant companions. Yet he persisted, motivated by the conviction that understanding the universe was more important than personal fame. This resilience, coupled with his rigor and creativity, allowed him to continue refining his discovery, ensuring that it was robust, reliable, and ready to guide future work. The broader significance of his work becomes apparent when considering the technologies and experiments it enabled. Devices and applications that rely on a deep understanding of physics, from medical imaging technologies to particle accelerators, benefit from principles that can be traced back to his insight. The practical impact of his work underscores a remarkable truth: foundational discoveries, even when overlooked by history, can have profound real-world consequences. Moreover, his approach to problem-solving offers lessons that transcend physics. He demonstrated the value of curiosity, the importance of patience, and the necessity of critical thinking. He showed that breakthroughs are often achieved not by following the crowd, but by daring to see what others overlook. His method combined creativity with rigor, imagination with evidence, intuition with analysis. This balance allowed him to confront complex challenges and reveal insights that others could not perceive. The legacy of this third keynote is not merely the solution he provided, but the way it reshaped the scientific mindset. By demonstrating that hidden connections exist between seemingly unrelated phenomena, he encouraged others to approach problems holistically, to look beyond immediate appearances, and to seek underlying principles. His work instilled a deeper appreciation for the interconnectedness of natural phenomena and the subtle structures that govern reality. Even as recognition for his contribution remained limited, His influence permeated the scientific landscape. Students learned from textbooks built on principles he had clarified. Researchers unknowingly applied frameworks that he had developed. Entire areas of inquiry were guided by ideas that originated from his insight. Though he remained largely invisible to the public, his legacy was deeply woven into the evolution of modern physics. His journey illustrates a profound truth about the nature of intellectual contribution. It is not always measured by fame or accolades, but by the enduring impact of ideas. The scientist's discovery reshaped the way reality is understood, guided experiments and applications, and enabled technologies that transform lives. It serves as a testament to the power of quiet genius, the capacity to change the course of knowledge without stepping into the spotlight. As science progressed, more attention gradually turned to his work. Scholars and historians began to trace the evolution of modern theories and realized that his insight had been a critical turning point. While mainstream recognition came slowly, those who understood the depth of his contribution acknowledged its significance. They recognized that the trajectory of modern physics was, in many ways, indebted to a mind that had worked quietly, thoughtfully, and persistently, revealing a truth that had been hidden in plain sight. His story also highlights the patience required for understanding to spread. Transformative ideas often take decades to be fully appreciated, especially when they challenge established frameworks. His discovery exemplifies this phenomenon. While immediate acclaim was absent, the long-term influence of his work demonstrates that the true measure of impact is not always instantaneous recognition, but the enduring utility and transformative power of the insight itself. The third keynote, therefore, serves as a powerful example of the hidden forces that drive progress. It shows that subtle, foundational insights can guide entire disciplines, shape technologies, and influence the way humans understand the universe. It demonstrates that a single discovery, approached with patience, rigor, and insight, can alter the course of knowledge in profound ways. His work illustrates that quiet brilliance often underpins the most visible achievements, and that those who remain unseen can nonetheless leave an indelible mark on history. Ultimately, his discovery embodies the essence of scientific exploration: curiosity, perseverance, and the courage to confront uncertainty. It is a reminder that the greatest contributions do not always arrive with fanfare, but their impact resonates across time, guiding research, informing applications, and shaping understanding. The third keynote reveals how a single insight, subtle yet profound, can alter the trajectory of science, demonstrating that the invisible hand of genius often works behind the scenes to change the world forever. In the end, the legacy of this discovery is both practical and philosophical. It shows that true knowledge is built on careful observation, rigorous reasoning, and the willingness to pursue truth, regardless of recognition. It highlights the quiet power of foundational ideas and the lasting influence of those who pursue understanding with humility and dedication. His insight continues to guide science, quietly transforming our understanding of reality, influencing technology, and inspiring generations of thinkers to look deeper, question more, and see beyond the surface. In the quiet corners of scientific discovery, some breakthroughs unfold not with fanfare, but with subtle precision. This particular insight emerged from a mind deeply attuned to the hidden patterns of nature, one that could see the invisible threads connecting phenomena that others assumed were separate. While the world focused on the celebrated figures of science, this thinker worked in the background, analyzing data, refining calculations, and observing the minute inconsistencies that hinted at deeper truths. His approach was patient, methodical, and relentless, driven by curiosity and a belief that the universe operates according to principles waiting to be uncovered. He recognized that the known frameworks of physics, while powerful, left certain questions unresolved. Experiments produced results that seemed contradictory, anomalies that could not be reconciled within existing models. Most scientists either ignored these irregularities or treated them as minor errors. But he saw them as signposts, guiding him toward a hidden order beneath the apparent chaos. He meticulously cataloged observations, compared patterns across different contexts, and sought connections that others had overlooked. It was through this disciplined, almost meditative focus that he began to identify a principle capable of uniting these seemingly disparate threads. What made this insight extraordinary was its subtlety. It did not announce itself with grand declarations or dramatic equations. Instead, it revealed itself gradually, a quiet restructuring of understanding that made the previously incomprehensible suddenly coherent. Where others had seen contradictions, he discerned harmony. Where the scientific world had hit walls of confusion, he found bridges. The principle he uncovered had the power to transform experimental interpretation, allowing researchers to predict outcomes with greater accuracy and to approach problems that had long seemed unsolvable. He worked largely in isolation, but the impact of his insights spread quickly through the foundations of physics. Experiments that once seemed inconsistent could now be understood within a unified framework. Theories that appeared disconnected found a common thread. His contribution reshaped the way scientists approached problems, offering a tool that enhanced both analysis and imagination. It provided clarity in a field often defined by uncertainty, giving future researchers a reliable platform upon which to explore further mysteries. Despite its significance, the recognition he received was minimal. His work did not make headlines or feature prominently in textbooks. Yet those who understood its implications realized that it had altered the course of inquiry. Many subsequent discoveries, technologies, and theoretical advancements depended, directly or indirectly, on the framework he had created. His approach exemplified a rare combination of intellectual rigor and creative insight, demonstrating that foundational breakthroughs often emerge not from ambition or visibility, but from careful attention to the patterns that others overlook. This insight also highlighted the importance of perseverance and humility in scientific pursuit. He faced skepticism, indifference, and the slow pace of acknowledgement, yet he remained committed to his work. Recognition, he seemed to understand, was secondary to the pursuit of truth. The value of his discovery lay not in accolades, but in its enduring capacity to guide understanding and foster innovation. In the end, this work serves as a reminder that some of the most profound contributions to science occur in silence, in the patient, thoughtful observation of phenomena that escape immediate notice. It illustrates the transformative power of insight, the ability to see connections where none were apparent, and the impact that a single mind, dedicated to understanding, can have on the evolution of knowledge. The legacy of this discovery continues to resonate, shaping how the natural world is studied, understood, and applied, quietly yet profoundly altering the trajectory of modern science. The journey of discovery often begins in quiet observation, where the smallest anomalies reveal the greatest truths. This insight emerged from a mind capable of seeing beyond the surface, noticing the patterns that others missed and questioning assumptions that had long been accepted without challenge. In a world where science often celebrated the dramatic and the immediate, he worked patiently, studying phenomena that seemed subtle or insignificant, aware that within these details lay the keys to understanding the universe. His dedication was unwavering, guided by curiosity and a profound belief that the natural world operates according to principles waiting to be uncovered. He noticed inconsistencies that puzzled many researchers. Measurements and experiments occasionally produced results that defied prediction, anomalies that were either dismissed as errors or overlooked entirely. Yet he recognized these irregularities as clues pointing toward a deeper order. By systematically examining the data, comparing observations across different contexts, and questioning the assumptions embedded in conventional thinking, he began to see patterns that had previously gone unnoticed. These connections, subtle and delicate, hinted at a framework that could explain phenomena far beyond the immediate problem. The brilliance of his discovery lay in its ability to unify what had seemed separate. While others focused on solving isolated problems, he discerned an underlying coherence connecting multiple domains of physics. This principle allowed for predictions that had previously been impossible, turning apparent contradictions into a harmonious understanding of nature. Experiments that had confounded researchers could now be interpreted with clarity, and theories that had seemed disconnected were revealed to be parts of a larger, integrated whole. The power of his insight was not in its complexity, but in its elegance and its ability to bring order to what had once been chaotic. His work had a quiet, transformative influence on the scientific community. While he remained largely unknown, the effects of his discovery spread through research papers, laboratories, and experiments. Scientists unknowingly built on the foundation he had laid, solving problems more effectively and advancing knowledge more confidently. His insight became a guiding principle, shaping inquiry and enabling progress in ways that were subtle but profound. It demonstrated that significant breakthroughs need not be flashy to be revolutionary. The most transformative ideas often work behind the scenes, quietly shaping the trajectory of science. Despite the minimal recognition, he continued his work with steadfast commitment. Skepticism, indifference, and the slow pace of acknowledgement did not deter him. He pursued understanding for its own sake, valuing clarity, truth, and insight over personal acclaim. This humility and perseverance allowed him to focus entirely on the principles he sought to uncover, ensuring that his contributions were precise, reliable, and enduring. In this dedication, he exemplified the essence of scientific exploration. The relentless pursuit of knowledge, even when the world does not immediately notice. The practical impact of his insight gradually became apparent. Experiments that had once seemed confusing or contradictory could now be conducted with predictable results. The framework he developed informed new approaches to complex problems and guided technological innovation. His work demonstrated that foundational ideas, even when overlooked, have the power to influence generations of research, shaping both theoretical understanding and practical application. Ultimately, this contribution illustrates the quiet power of intellectual perseverance. It shows how patient observation, critical thinking, and the courage to question assumptions can yield discoveries that transform understanding, even in the absence of immediate recognition. The legacy of this work is enduring, embedded in the way modern science interprets the natural world and continues to inspire researchers to seek patterns, connections, and truths that remain just beyond the surface. His insight, though largely unseen by the public, remains a guiding force, quietly shaping the trajectory of scientific progress and leaving an indelible mark on the evolution of knowledge. In the realm of scientific exploration, some breakthroughs are hidden in plain sight, waiting for a mind capable of discerning their significance. This discovery emerged from such quiet observation, where subtle patterns hinted at truths that had eluded generations of researchers. While others pursued theories that promised recognition or immediate impact, he focused on the nuances, the small irregularities in experiments, the faint whispers of inconsistencies, the details that most dismissed as trivial. It was in these overlooked spaces that he uncovered a principle that would quietly, yet profoundly, alter the course of understanding. The anomaly he investigated appeared insignificant at first glance. Minor deviations in measurement, slight contradictions in expected behavior, phenomena that did not fit neatly into existing frameworks. All were largely ignored or attributed to error. Yet he perceived a deeper meaning, a hidden order beneath the apparent randomness. By carefully analyzing data, questioning assumptions, and connecting observations across different experiments, he began to reveal a structure that reconciled these inconsistencies. What had seemed isolated and mysterious became part of a larger, elegant pattern. His approach was methodical and relentless. He did not rush toward conclusions, but allowed the evidence to guide him. Every calculation was checked, every hypothesis tested, every counterexample considered. In his work, intuition and rigor were inseparable. Imagination led him to possibilities that others could not see, and meticulous analysis ensured that these possibilities could withstand scrutiny. Slowly, the anomaly transformed from a problem into a revelation, and the framework he developed offered clarity where confusion had once prevailed. The significance of his insight was profound. By uncovering the hidden structure, he provided a way to unify phenomena that had previously appeared disconnected. Experimental results that had confounded researchers were now understandable, theoretical gaps were bridged, and new lines of inquiry became possible. The principle he revealed did not merely solve a single problem, it reshaped the methodology of science, giving future researchers a tool for interpreting complex systems and approaching challenges with a newfound precision. Despite the transformative nature of his work, recognition came slowly. His contributions were subtle, foundational, and often invisible to the broader scientific community. While some colleagues built upon his ideas, his name rarely appeared in headlines or popular accounts of discovery. Yet he remained undeterred. For him, the pursuit of truth was paramount, and the value of his work was measured not in fame, but in its enduring capacity to illuminate the workings of the natural world. The practical impact of his discovery gradually became evident. Experiments that had once produced unpredictable results could now be approached with confidence. The framework he provided enabled more accurate predictions and informed the development of new technologies. Even in applications far removed from the original research, his insight continued to guide thinking, shaping the trajectory of science in subtle yet profound ways. The quiet power of foundational ideas is revealed in this way. They provide the scaffolding upon which visible achievements are built. His journey also highlights the qualities required for true scientific innovation. Curiosity, patience, humility, and perseverance were his constant companions. He understood that meaningful discovery often demands solitude, reflection, and the courage to question assumptions that others accept without scrutiny. He demonstrated that transformative breakthroughs can emerge not from spectacle or competition, but from careful observation, rigorous analysis, and the persistent pursuit of understanding. Ultimately, this discovery serves as a reminder of the hidden forces that drive progress. A single mind, focused on uncovering subtle truths, can create ripples that influence generations of science, guiding both theory and practice. His work exemplifies how dedication to understanding, rather than recognition, can produce insights that quietly, yet powerfully, change the way humanity perceives the universe. The legacy of his discovery continues to resonate, shaping experiments, guiding research, and providing a foundation for innovations that define our modern understanding of reality. In the realm of scientific exploration, some breakthroughs are hidden in plain sight, waiting for a mind capable of discerning their significance. This discovery emerged from such quiet observation, where subtle patterns hinted at truths that had eluded generations of researchers. While others pursued theories that promised recognition or immediate impact, he focused on the nuances, the small irregularities in experiments, the faint whispers of inconsistencies, the details that most dismissed as trivial. It was in these overlooked spaces that he uncovered a principle that would quietly, yet profoundly, alter the course of understanding. The anomaly he investigated appeared insignificant at first glance. Minor deviations in measurement, slight contradictions in expected behavior, phenomena that did not fit neatly into existing frameworks, all were largely ignored or attributed to error. Yet he perceived a deeper meaning, a hidden order beneath the apparent randomness. By carefully analyzing data, questioning assumptions, and connecting observations across different experiments, he began to reveal a structure that reconciled these inconsistencies. What had seemed isolated and mysterious became part of a larger, elegant pattern. His approach was methodical and relentless. He did not rush toward conclusions, but allowed the evidence to guide him. Every calculation was checked, every hypothesis tested, every counterexample considered. In his work, intuition and rigor were inseparable. Imagination led him to possibilities that others could not see, and meticulous analysis ensured that these possibilities could withstand scrutiny. Slowly, the anomaly transformed from a problem into a revelation, and the framework he developed offered clarity where confusion had once prevailed. The significance of his insight was profound. By uncovering the hidden structure, he provided a way to unify phenomena that had previously appeared disconnected. Experimental results that had confounded researchers were now understandable, theoretical gaps were bridged, and new lines of inquiry became possible. The principle he revealed did not merely solve a single problem, it reshaped the methodology of science, giving future researchers a tool for interpreting complex systems and approaching challenges with a newfound precision. Despite the transformative nature of his work, recognition came slowly. His contributions were subtle, foundational, and often invisible to the broader scientific community. While some colleagues built upon his ideas, his name rarely appeared in headlines or popular accounts of discovery. Yet he remained undeterred. For him, the pursuit of truth was paramount, and the value of his work was measured not in fame, but in its enduring capacity to illuminate the workings of the natural world. The practical impact of his discovery gradually became evident. Experiments that had once produced unpredictable results could now be approached with confidence. The framework he provided enabled more accurate predictions and informed the development of new technologies. Even in applications far removed from the original research, his insight continued to guide thinking, shaping the trajectory of science in subtle yet profound ways. The quiet power of foundational ideas is revealed in this way. They provide the scaffolding upon which visible achievements are built. His journey also highlights the qualities required for true scientific innovation. Curiosity, patience, humility, and perseverance were his constant companions. He understood that meaningful discovery often demands solitude, reflection, and the courage to question assumptions that others accept without scrutiny. He demonstrated that transformative breakthroughs can emerge not from spectacle or competition, but from careful observation, rigorous analysis, and the persistent pursuit of understanding. Ultimately, this discovery serves as a reminder of the hidden forces that drive progress. A single mind, focused on uncovering subtle truths, can create ripples that influence generations of science, guiding both theory and practice. His work exemplifies how dedication to understanding, rather than recognition, can produce insights that quietly, yet powerfully, change the way humanity perceives the universe. The legacy of his discovery continues to resonate, shaping experiments, guiding research, and providing a foundation for innovations that define our modern understanding of reality.